Hello, everybody.
Good morning. In our conversations around silence and nature, well, basically all the themes that we've touched upon up to now, the word and the theme of retreat often came up. It's almost like a golden thread running through our conversations, also because that forms a big part of our own work. We live at the Restory Retreat Center, but often there's a lot of misconceptions around what a retreat is and what you do at a retreat or on retreat. And we thought it might be good to have a conversation around that this morning.
Yeah, I think basically the word retreat in itself says it's a stepping back, stepping out of your normal life, your normal routine, your normal rhythm, and maybe retreating into a slower rhythm. I suppose you could do it at your own home as well, although that's always difficult with responsibilities that one has there. But going into a space where you have more time just to really slow down, rest, and spend time really available to God.
And that in itself is always a very good practice, but often we get to a place in our lives where there's a need for something like that. You're at a certain crisis, or you have to make a decision. There's a fork in the road and you have to decide. And then it's usually also a good time to go on retreat and be in that process of discernment during that time as well. I was thinking, in preparation of our conversation, just thinking about the theme of retreat. Often it's when you're busy with something, no explanation is needed, but when you talk about something and you want to convey the meaning of it, it's often a little bit more difficult. So I was thinking in preparation of the conversation about retreats, and it struck me that there's a close link to the basic structure of prayer as well, where in prayer we often talk to God. We have petition prayers where we put things before God, where we request things. There are times when we listen to God in our prayers. Either we go to the Bible, reading the Bible, or in our journals. But in a retreat, and that's also part of prayer that's often neglected, is being with God. Not so much doing, not so much talking, not so much saying, but just being.
Yes, resting in God.
Resting. So that is a big aspect of going on retreat, is to be in the presence of God and to see what folds. God takes the initiative during those times. So in that sense, it's really a very rich time.
And I think coming from a very busy, hectic pace in life, to step back like that and to just surrender, just sort of fall back is just the most, I want to call it almost a liberating feeling, a feeling of total relaxation in a sense.
Yeah.
Of allowing God to take care of you for a while.
And there might be misconceptions about retreat centers. It is not a bed and breakfast. It is not a holiday space. It's not a spa. It's none of that. It has a spiritual element. As we say, it's this entering into the space of God. Because there's a lot of misconceptions around around a retreat.
Yeah. we find it difficult in advertising when we post on the accommodation sites that they don't really have a category for such places. And we can't really put ourselves under a guest farm or like you say, a bed and breakfast or a guest lodge or a spa. It's none of those things. Although you can have the beauty and the nature and all of that is there, and the food is there and all of that. But we actually need a category for retreats.
Yeah. And then as to the practical aspect of it, basically we here at the Restory Retreat Center have two types of retreats. And in general, I would say at retreat centers, that is the practice.
Yeah,
you either have a structured retreat, and usually that is over a weekend from a Friday to a Sunday. We find that it is good if it can be a long weekend, a Thursday to a Sunday or a Friday to a Monday, but it's not always possible. So basically a weekend around a certain theme. And there are sessions, short sessions, where the theme is discussed, but there's a lot of white space.
So we could call that a guided retreat.
Yes.
With a program that's around the theme, and with the sessions then leading you into your own journey during the retreat.
Yeah. And being a very small retreat center, we can take up to 6 people on those structured retreats. And then we have private retreats. Maybe just before we go over to the private retreats, just touch on the themes that we've done on structured retreats.
We have such a nice variety and quite a big repertoire at this stage. But we've done, and we often do mindfulness retreats, prayer retreats, silent retreats. That's the one that people usually say, oh, I can't be silent for a weekend. Creativity retreats, contemplative photography retreats. We often find that, especially if we are not we haven't done a lot of retreats, that something like a creativity retreat or a photography retreat helps, because you have some way of helping you with a focus. What else? We did a recent retreat we did around the theme of discernment, and that was a very meaningful one for me personally as well.
Because what works very well is if a group of friends say, we would love to go deeper around our image of God, we would love to go deeper around discernment, and they contact us, and then we work on a program, and then when they come on retreat, they can
sort of go deeper. Also, just to say that nobody needs to be an expert in retreating.
No.
There is no levels of retreating. You maybe you get more used to the rhythm of retreats as you go along, but like Thomas Merton says, we will always be beginners in this. So there's no need to feel that you need to be at some level spiritually or have some experience. That's absolutely not necessary.
So that is the structured retreats. The private retreats, that can either be as an individual or as a couple or as a very small group of friends or family members. And there it is much more free-flowing. During the first meeting, we get a feel of where somebody is. They share their life story and
their needs. So we can structure well, there is no set program then, because they will set their own rhythm and their own routine while they're here, and we will work around that. It might even be a silent retreat where we respect the silence. But it can, there's no set theme then usually.
Yeah.
And then often we can also offer spiritual guidance during that time.
Yeah.
It should be sessions.
In other words, it can be a day of silence and then half an hour session where we have a spiritual direction session and we look at the day and the experiences of the day, something folding up, and we talk about that and we discern what God is busy opening up around the concern or the choice to be made or whatever. So it plays into each other, the spiritual direction sessions with the retreat itself. And that can be for a weekend. There's, as Matilda says, there's no structured theme, but there's also not a set time. It can be for a weekend, it can be for a week. That is determined by the retreatant. That it differs from person to person. When we enter into the silence this morning, we were talking about retreat, also tapping into prayer structure and being with God. Let's enter into the silence and the prayer space with God. God, we find it easy to talk to you and to bring all our needs, our longings to you. And we are grateful to know that that is what you want as well. You want to listen to us, you want to help us. And there are times when we listen to you, often when we go to the Bible, when we write in our journals, things open up, we hear what you are saying to us. But usually we are very active in those forms of prayer. We are very much involved. And as in any good relationship, we realize that it is necessary to have times to merely be. Also to merely be in your presence, waiting on you, expectantly waiting for whatever unfolds or announces itself. We want to have more such space in our lives, spaces in our lives. Just to be in your presence. And to grow in this deep realization that being in that presence, that is also prayer. Constant prayer, being aware of your presence. And we do that as people who hear your invitation and your confirmation when you say, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Always nice to talk to you.
Goodbye. See you soon.